Hi, it's Honest Dreyer, and in this Wealth Insights, I want to share with you something that I think very few people, well, I can almost say it's a secret, but it's not going to be a secret after I've shared it with you. But I like you to, as you can see, I'm a serious fan of Warren Buffett, and actually, I think I've got most of the books that were written about him. And the one book that I can recommend that you can read and basically ignore the rest is The Snowball, Warren Buffett and the Business of Life. Now, whenever I read a book, there's something specific that I'm looking for. I'm comparing it to the Formula for Riches. And I've actually wrote the Formula for Riches because I made a discovery that none of these books are willing to share with you. In other words, rich people do not really share the formula with you. And on the back, I wrote, the Formula for Riches delves deep into the systematic strategy, because there's a very specific strategy that these people are using, that the top 0.5% of the world's wealthiest elite use to create, preserve, and protect their wealth. Make no mistake, this is the secret formula behind the most successful people in the world. And I'd like to share that secret with you today in this Wealth Insights. So, let's go and have a look and do a quick study on Warren Buffett. I'm not going to refer to all of this. I'd like to make it easy for you. The first thing, let's go to the computer. Let's go. The first thing that I'd like you to understand is that according to Forbes, Warren Buffett's wealth at the moment is 67.5 billion rand. That is what he's worth. And he controls Berkshire Hathaway. In other words, that is his company that he owns. Right. The second thing I think that is important at this moment today is in terms of Yahoo Finance, we're going to find that Berkshire Hathaway trades at the moment per share $206,438. The next thing that I think is important that we understand, and this is beginnersinvest.about.com, and then it's Warren Buffett. You can do the search yourself. But in essence, in 1956, 7 family members and friends put in a total of $105,000. Buffett himself invested only $100. And this is seriously important to know this. In other words, Buffett himself only invested $100. Now, let's look at some mind-blowing facts about it. And this is in the Business Insider. You know, if you invested $1,000 in Berkshire Hathaway the year that Buffett became the major shareholder, that amount would be 10.5 million higher today. Now, in 1964, that's the year that he became the major shareholder, the value of the shares per share was $19 per share. Now, I'd like to take you to Excel to explain something to you. And what I'd like to explain is the difference between a wealth creator and an investor. So the moment that you invest in Warren Buffett's company, you become an investor. But Warren Buffett is the wealth creator. And the Formula for Riches is what happens and why is it that some people are wealth creators, and what is the systematic approach that they follow to become wealth creators, and how important is it that we know this. And I can almost say that this is a secret, because the moment that we get this, let's go to Excel. Right, in 1956, Warren Buffett started his portfolio, in other words, with $100. It's 58 years later, and he's worth $66.7 billion. That means that he's grown his estate, his portfolio, with 41.95%. Right. Now, if you've invested in 1964 in that company, in other words, in his company, it would cost you $19 per share. Today, that share trades at $206,438. That gives you a compounded growth of 20.43%. Now, Berkshire Hathaway, if you've invested in them, he's got the longest trading record of outperforming the share markets as such. In other words, this was an exceptional investment if you've invested in that, because we've just seen, let me go back there, if you've invested just $1,000, it would be worth today a little bit more than $10.5 million. Okay, it's a couple of years later. But that's the effect of compounded interest. Now, there's a huge difference between an investor and a wealth creator. In other words, we see that Warren Buffett grew his estate or portfolio with 41.95%, and the investors got 20% return, which is excellent. But here's the trick. You cannot become rich by being an investor. You have to be the wealth creator. So, and the majority of people don't understand that you're actually not an investor, you are saving your money. So let's assume that you take R1,000 investment and you could invest it at that growth rate, which means that you're in one of the best funds in the world over a long period. So in 20 years' time, your money will be worth, if we start today, will be worth 3.3 million rands. But if we take a 9% inflation, that means in today's value, it's 591,000 rand, which simply means that you won't be able to survive. In other words, it sounds spectacular, and it is spectacular compared to other funds. But because you're an investor, you're not going to make it. Now, let's see if you're Warren Buffett. If you can invest R1,000 at 41.95 over 20 years, it's 109,000 million. 109,000 million. In today's value, at the same inflation rate, that's the equivalent of 19 million. Now, immediately, because people see 109 million, they go crazy and they say, but this cannot be done. In 2004, I took on a challenge whereby I invested 79 cents and literally changed that into a small fortune in less than 2 years and 3 months. During that stage, I bought a property portfolio, right? Basically for nothing, for 79 cents. And that portfolio now, 10 years later, is a lot more in today's value than 19 million. So I see a lot of people say, but it can't be done. It's not possible. It is impossible. The problem is they do not follow the formula, and they do not follow the investment model. In other words, there are 7 levels, and because they do not know that, they've got a problem. So here's the trick. The trick is what happened between 1956 and 1964. Because from 1964, this is the growth that Warren got on his money as well. Because he's the shareholder and he invests only in this business. Okay, so this is where the rainmaking skill happened. And it's because of that discovery that I've said that anyone can become financially free, rich, within a 7 to 8 year term. Simply because I could see that, and I could see that other people were doing it, and therefore I wanted to find out, but what is it? Is there a secret? Is there a formula? And there's a formula. Now, the thing is that as a wealth creator, there are 2 laws that is working for us. The one is the law of creation, and the other one is the law of multiplication. And during the first 7 years, this is literally 8 years, this is literally what Warren Buffett applied, so that he could get the major shareholding in Berkshire Hathaway. Right, now, it's exactly the same thing that I did in 1987 when I discovered this, to be in a position 7 years later to be financially free. It's exactly the same thing that I did when I took on the challenge to turn 79 cents into 10 million. It's exactly the same thing that I'm busy doing right now, where I'm taking 34 rands and 83 cents in a business. And I've turned that, and I'm going to turn that into 1.3. At the moment, it's just over 420,000 rand. Right, it's exactly the same principle, and that is the rainmaker skill. In other words, that is the formula and how you apply it. And if you're not on the how to turn 34 rands and 83 cents into 1.3 million in less than a year on that course, please make sure that you get on that course, because in module 5, I'm going to explain the difference and why is it that Warren Buffett, between those 8 years, literally were in a position to be financially rich. And because of that, he could take the major shareholding in Berkshire. Right. So please make sure that you're on that course, because it's going to be mind-boggling when you understand that you've got exactly the same skills. And I've seen it with my students where they outperform the kind of growth that Warren got on his investment and even what I'm getting on my investment. And it's simply, there's a very systematic way to become extremely rich. And I really, really want to share that with you. But I can't unless you get on the course. So make sure that you get on that course, because I'm very close to take you to the next level to show you how to turn that money really into serious investments. Right. So if you're not on that course, now's the time to make sure that you get on it. And if you're on the course, make sure that you do all the lessons, because Module 5 is really going to rock. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you in the next Wealth Insights.